All right, over the weekend, one of my friends asked me a fantastic question. How do you determine when to just use the out of the box Dynamics 365 apps versus creating your own custom model driven app? So, Lindy, this video is for you. Now, this used to be relatively straightforward in delivery land because we'd take the custom Dynamics 365 apps, break them all apart, take the components we wanted, opportunity, case, etc., combine it with custom components that we put together, and then delivered a custom model-driven app to the client. But the Dynamics 365 apps have exponentially increased in recent years in terms of their feature set and their complexity. And so this isn't as straightforward a consideration as it used to be. Furthermore, you take the AI capabilities that are rapidly evolving, and we need to think about this a little differently. So let me take you through these 7 considerations that I would make when deciding between out of the box Dynamics apps versus custom model driven apps. All right, here we go. Number 1. This one might feel a little silly, but are you actually licensed for Dynamics 365 or are you licensed for Power Platform? Because if you're only licensed for Power Platform, the sole option you have is to create a custom model driven app. You don't have access to the out of the box Dynamics ones. So, assuming you're licensed for Dynamics customer engagement, sales, service, insights, journeys, field service, something like that, let's continue to number 2, which is how short is your time to value? If you need to rapidly get value into the hands of your users, that's going to push you more towards the out of the box Dynamics apps as they pretty much come as a complete product. You need to do some config, some data migration, but once you've done that, they're pretty much ready for the users to get hands on and start using it. Whereas a custom model driven app, you have to build from the ground up. Now, someone's going to jump in the comments and say, aha, Nathan, what about Plan Designer? And it's a great question. The reality is that Plan Designer is still not going to get you all the way to the level of customization and complexity that you get with an out of the box Dynamics app. It can do a lot, but as of today, June 2025, it's not going to get you that full application that you get in Dynamics 365. For simpler apps, sure, it can do quite a lot, but in this iteration, it's not going to get you to what you would get with an out of the box Dynamics app. Number 3, do you plan to use the out of the box features? Now, one of our key tenets at the Architect Accelerator is that out of the box is the key to going home early. And if you want to make use of out of the box features, then that's going to push you more towards the out of the box applications. For example, in sales, if you want to use Sales Accelerator and segments and sequences, they are much more readily available in the out of the box Sales Hub app than if you try to develop a custom model driven app and bring those features in if they're available at all. Last year, James Warren and I discovered that Copilot for Customer Service didn't play so nicely at the time with a custom model driven app. It's a little different now. All right, number 4. How extensively do you plan to customize the application? If you are planning to write a lot of code, I'm not talking about the low code stuff that we do in the Maker portal, but if you're planning to write a lot of JavaScript and do some customization like that, then that may not play too nicely with the out of the box apps as Microsoft is updating them regularly. They do major updates twice a year, and then through the year, there are minor updates rolling out all the time. And so, if you are going to extensively customize or extend that application, then you might want to look at the custom model driven app as opposed to one of the out of the box ones. Brings us to number 5. How much control do you require over the app? As Microsoft are regularly rolling out new features, do you need more control over what your users see and when and how they see it? If you do, then that's going to lend you more towards the custom model driven app versus the out of the box apps from Microsoft. Number 6. Do you or does your client have the adequate framework to support a custom model driven app in house? The out of the box apps are supported by Microsoft. That's part of what you're paying for. When you build a custom model driven app, support is done by you. Break fix is done by you. New features are developed by you. And so you need to ensure that that support exists within the organization you're deploying that custom model driven app to. Otherwise, you're better off going with the out of the box Dynamics apps. And then finally, number 7, how quickly do you want new features to get in the hands of your users? If you want users to have access to the latest and greatest coming from Microsoft, then you really need to stick with the out of the box Dynamics apps because that's where new features show up first. That's where they're going to be most readily available. In a custom model driven app, new features might have to wait a period of time before they're available, or you may have to develop them custom from scratch. So, those are the 7 considerations that I would go through when determining whether or not to use an out of the box Dynamics app or develop a custom model driven app. What do you think? What have I missed? What considerations do you go through when considering whether or not to stick with an out of the box Dynamics app or build a custom model driven app? Drop a comment, let me know. In the meantime, go do something awesome on the Power Platform today, and I'll talk to you all soon.